I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular board meeting, July 17, 2007, 5:30 p.m. Administration Building, 1900 Price Road. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dr. Escobedo.
Mr. Aguilar.
I also would like to ask the audience, the community, to keep Berta Peña in their prayers, and we ask for a full recovery.
Most definitely. Thank you. The pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, roll call. Mr. Colunga is not present with us yet, and Mr. Cortez called, and he said he was running a little late, but he will be here momentarily. Well, he just said a little late. Moving on to item 5, recommend approving the agenda of the regular board meeting of July 17, 2007, with any corrections or deletions. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo. As submitted. No changes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted? Motion by Mr. Aguilar, seconded by Mr. Parrish. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 6, recommend approving the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 15, 2007, with any corrections. Any corrections on the minutes of May 15th? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as read? Motion by Mr. Parrish, seconded by Mr. Aguilar. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 7, recommend approving the minutes of the rescheduled regular board meeting of June 12, 2007 with any corrections. Any corrections to the minutes of June 12th? If not, a motion by Mr. Aguilar to adopt as read, seconded by Mr. Parrish. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 8, Superintendent's Report, A, Conference Presentation 1, Presentation of Student Code of Conduct for the year 2007-2008. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo. Board members, as you know, every year we must approve the Student Code of Conduct for the upcoming year, and we worked at it this year, and I'll let Ms. Fox introduce the presentation at this time. Ms. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. This evening we have Ms. Sylvia Perez, the Department Administrator for Admissions and Attendance, to present to you some brief changes in the Student Code of Conduct / Student Parent Handbook for 2007-2008. Ms. Perez?
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, included in your board packet was a draft copy of the Student Code of Conduct for the 2007-2008 school year. This document includes the standards for student behavior and consequences for misconduct. This year, changes in the code are minimal, even though this was a legislative year, and for your convenience, changes were highlighted in your packet. Know that changes in this document were recommended by TASB. Changes from the 80th legislative session go into effect with the start of the 2007-2008 school year. 2 bills addressing some of the most serious student behaviors have led to the creation of a new section of the Student Code of Conduct, and we have this information on page 16, where we talk about certain serious offenses. Specifically, Senate Bill 6 and House Bill 2532 address placement of registered sex offenders, requiring the immediate removal of a student from the regular classroom on the receipt or notification that the student is required to register as a sex offender. As part of due process, the district will follow procedures to determine and review through a committee the appropriate alternative placement. The options are the DAEP, which is our local alternative education program, as well as another option, the JJAEP in San Benito, or a regular classroom. House Bill 2552 expands Chapter 37, and it authorizes schools to take disciplinary measures when a student is arrested, charged with, or referred to a juvenile court for a Title V felony. The consequence is either expulsion to the JJAEP or DAEP placement. This provision still requires a hearing prior to expulsion or placement. I want to briefly touch on 2 additional items. Page 1 we have the title School District Authority Jurisdiction, and this particular section clarifies the authority of the district to enforce student discipline. Often, students and parents feel that the district's authority is only within the school. Today, the district may place students in a DAEP for violations in another school district or in our community. Another item I would like to stress is found on page 10 under General Conduct Violations, and these are removals to the TAP program. Students shall not engage in conduct that constitutes dating violence, including the intentional use of physical, sexual, verbal, or emotional abuse to harm, threaten, intimidate, or control another person with whom the student has had a dating relationship. I've covered the major changes in the code. The copy submitted to the printers will include any corrections deemed necessary, suggestions, recommendations by the board, as well as TASB.
Any comments or questions, Mr. Powers?
Thank you, President Dr. Escobedo. Ms. Gonzalez, Mrs. Betts, I want to thank you because I noticed you highlighted all the other changes that we have in there, and I'm glad to see that the cell phones now on video or audio are prohibited without acknowledgement in a second because of the privacy in the locker room. So, and I see that we have it all on there. It's great to see. So, thank you for that immaculate work you did.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the board? Mr. Lane?
Yeah, I don't know if she mentioned it or it is. This is on the web, posted, right? On the website? It will be?
Once it's approved, it will be posted.
Okay,
The old one's still out there.
Anything else? Thank you, Mrs. Pettis and Ms. Fox. Thank you. Moving on, item 2, presentation of Hurricane Preparedness Action Plan. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo. As you all know, all board members, it's hurricane season, and we have to be prepared in case of a hurricane. And so we got a plan together, and it calls for different venues to take place in accordance with the size of the hurricane and what needs to go on with the city. And Ms. Fox is going to be in charge this year, so I'm going to call on her to introduce this presentation. Ms. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. First, I'd like to say I'm going to try to prevent as many hurricanes as we can this year. The operations departments, transportation, maintenance, food service, health service, and the safety department, along with Chief Garcia and the security services, have been working for several months now in putting together this particular plan. This plan, the manual that you have, will be also placed on the web beginning tomorrow with your approval, and then tonight's presentation will be shown several times via KBSD. Also, the principals and department administrators will each get a copy of the manual, as well as, of course, it being posted. In the event of a Category 1, 2, or 3 hurricane, BISD is in charge of our district, and we will follow this manual that has all the emergency operation plans for that. As I'm sure you know, Category 4 and 5 hurricanes are under the jurisdiction of the county, and we will serve as a support agency to the county, lending support via transportation, maintenance, etc. Chief Garcia is our contact for BISD in the event of either category of hurricane, and at this time, Chief Garcia is going to come and he will go through this manual with you and then give you some other information regarding the Category 4 and 5 hurricanes that we'll be dealing with. Chief Garcia.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Let the record reflect Mr. Colunga has joined us. Chief.
Thank you, sir. President Dr. Escobedo, Superintendent Gonzalez, members of the board, area superintendents. I would like to briefly just kind of go over the manual. The manual that was provided does have some tabs in there, and if you want to follow with me, I do have those tabbed out. This manual is, of course, a living document. It does change as things evolve. There are some things that will have to be amended or added to the manual. As we begin on tab 1, you have the BISD Emergency Operational Plan. This is just a quick overview, snapshot of our operational planning. Pretty much, basically, the plan that serves as an overview for the district's approach to emergency management. And that pretty much outlines how we will approach the emergency operations at our district. Tab 2 has some detailed information regarding our transportation department. Some really good information in this tab regarding contact information. Of course, Mr. Hector Chirinos is our lead contact with his administrator and his also backup person contact information. In this tab, transportation also has the number of regular buses that will be allocated should the need arise for transportation to be utilized, of course, under a Cat 4 or Cat 5. Tab 3 is a little bit more detailed information, which really addresses those Cat 4, Cat 5 situations where the BISD recommended pickup sites. Now, this is part of the Emergency Operations Center in conjunction with the county and the city. We will be providing them with these pickup sites that we call hub sites. Each site has been divided into 5 different zones. And with each zone, there's a respective site that is allocated to the zone. So that should serve as information as well. And that is very, very detailed. Now, Tab 4 is the actually emergency operational plan. This is the model incident command system that we will be incorporating at BISD. And this is a model that has information that, again, can be added, or it is very user-friendly, by the way, but it's a template that will be utilized at our Emergency Operations Center along with this county and or the city. Tab 5 is the actual annex, which is part of the overall district plan, is the warning systems that we're going to utilize at BISD. Now, this particular tab has more detailed information. For example, we have definitions and explanation of terms in this particular tab. In this particular tab, it addresses the emergency manager's wireless information network. It talks about the emergency alert system, the Division of Emergency Management, which is our state and or national FEMA. We also have information regarding the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Incident Command System, to name a few. And it goes on to have information about the National Weather Service, Public Information Officer, and then it has information delineating information regarding the State Operations Center, the standard operating procedures, and then there's Texas law enforcement telecommunication systems. And that's very detailed. Tab 6. Now, this particular tab has a lot more detailed information in this particular tab. It refers to the sheltering should the need arise for BISD to participate in a shelter program. And this particular tab has some very, very detailed information regarding shelters. As you can see, the primary shelters that we will utilize, Hanna High School as shelter number 1, then we have shelter number 2 as Porter High School, shelter number 3, Pace High School, shelter number 4 as Putin Elementary, and we designated shelter number 5 as Skinner Elementary. If you note, please, that shelter number 6 is Rivera High School, and this is used as a post-storm shelter should that need arise. In each shelter, we have information regarding capacity and so forth. One of the things I do want to note here at the bottom of this particular tab is that the Central Annex building will be used as the secondary emergency operations center for our district should we need to have a secondary facility. And on the next page of this particular tab, we have information relating to secondary shelters. Quickly, if you like, I can name those, or you would like for me to move on to tab 7, but it has some really detailed information. Thank you. Tab number 7. Tab number 7 has some information relating to the Food and Nutrition Service Department. Ms. Mendez has provided us an excellent guide for mitigating that emergency should we need to use food service. There's information in here regarding the emergency telephone numbers. There's some very detailed information that she has included in this manual for us regarding the disaster plan. And in her disaster plan has prevention, mitigation, response, and recovery, which, by the way, are the components that are very necessary for a district operational plan, emergency operation plan. In this particular tab also we have the very detailed inventory preparation form that will be used if the need should arise to use this resource and so forth. Tab number 8. Now, tab number 8 is informational tab. It's an information that we use once we become part of either the city and the county's emergency operations center. These telephone numbers are the ones that are directed inside that operations center, which is, by the way, the city of Brownsville EOC. There's been some changes, some minor changes with these numbers, and I can get you an update of that information. Tab number 9. Tab number 9 has information regarding to campus administration, the contact information, very detailed information with specific phone numbers, specific names, contact persons, cell pager numbers, and so forth. And this is very detailed information that is very useful in our emergency operations center. Excuse me. Tab number 10 has some very detailed information regarding the maintenance department. And maintenance department plays an integral part in our emergency operations center, especially before and of course post-storm recovery efforts. I think they're going to play a very important role. Mr. Arteaga has provided us with some very detailed information regarding tab number 10. Tab number 11 has very basic information of how our schedule would look should we need to place officers at these shelters. We would go with a 12-hour shifts, placing 2 police officers and security officers at our shelters, at our sites for added security. The next page following that example is a sample of a security pass that will be required of our personnel, staff, and administration to use at all times during the storm, after storm recovery. Should we need to come back into our schools and our communities, we would have to be part of the Security Emergency Operations Center with security passes, and that's a sample of that there. The tab number 12 has some also very detailed information. Ms. Castillo, our Health Service Administrator, has provided some very detailed information regarding health services. In her plan, she also refers to mitigation, planning, preparedness, response, and recovery. Very detailed information that is very useful, again, at our Emergency Operations Center. This information is shared with our local county and city government. And the appendix has a letter that support from our Congressman Solomon Ortiz in regards to having a contact person should the need arise. Their support is written very clearly and articulated in that appendix. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mrs. Galvan?
Yes, are we going to be stressing more evacuation than shelter?
One of the things that we've heard through the training and the conferences, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The conferences that we've attended, the category Cat 4 and 5, they're stressing evacuation, and that we should follow that. The county is very adamant about making sure our community is safe. So yes, we will stress evacuation of the city on a Cat 4 and 5.
If I may add on this one, this is a very important message also to the viewing audience, is that during Category 1, 2, and 3 storms, that's basically up to us to open shelters if we want to or not, coordinated with the Red Cross and so on and so forth. Certainly decisions will be made administratively and of course the board will be brought up to date in any of those decisions. However, once you get into Category 4 or 5, that's a different story. I don't think we'll open up shelters. I think that's the county is in total control. They are the ones that decide. It's turned over to them for their management purposes. From what I understand, the meetings that I've gone to it's evacuation. They want the entire city evacuated, and they have a plan in place that they want to use, and of course it would be the use of our buses and bus drivers, and the plan that they talked to me about is very extensive in nature, but that would be in place with the county, with the county judge in charge, as you might say, along with the governor's office. So that's very specific in nature, and then they will pass that information at the appropriate time. So it's basically up to us as the 1, 2s, and 3s to take local jurisdiction. After that, it becomes the county judge, and we work well with him and the governor's office, and they have a very strategic plan in place. I don't think it calls for opening shelters. It calls for evacuations.
Mr. Aguilar?
Doctor, it seems that it's been a lot of work on updating the manual. I'd like for somehow the administrations to review this and perhaps highlight it during the in-services they have in the school district, and somewhere along before September rolls around, that perhaps the public needs to know what service we're going to provide ahead of time, rather than 2 or 3 days when the hurricane is approaching, and say, this, in case we have to do this, certain schools will be open. But we can let the public know ahead of time what's happening and what we're doing. I think would benefit our community. And also, I know that Mr. Gonzalez did a lot of work and took some time. It would help us some more if they have tabs, whether we're talking about tabs 1, 2, or 7, or 8, if they would put it on the manual so we can ourselves turn to that rather than to be searching through all these pages. Also, it would help us with the number, the document. The computer does it for you. Takes a few minutes, put it down, and all these pages. So whenever they have the complete document, perhaps we can see those improvements. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor.
Mrs. Galvan?
Yes, I'd like to also stress that, especially with our handicap and people that take medication and people that really need to get on that bus, if somehow we could provide information of the locations. And I know it's per media and all, but I know through schools also it would be very helpful.
And that would be something, if I may, like, that once again, in coordination on the level 4s or 5, those are mandatory evacuations. I believe they've been announcing it on the media, that there's a phone number they can call. That way, people that need help need to register now with the county in getting those, so they'll provide evacuation for those. As far as we're concerned, if we open up shelters on the local level, we won't be providing transportation. It will be up to them to come to us, and that's the way we're going to do it. But the county will provide transportation for them. And I think this information, Ms. Fox, we can all put it on the website, and with the numbers that they need to call at the county, it's easy for them, if they log to us, for them to know everything that we can possibly give them, even though it's not ours. It's a county number they can call. Put it on our website for them. We'll do that as part of the hurricane thing.
And then I had a district suggestion, which is, you know, our school buses cost a lot of money, and I know we will be possibly using some of our school buses for evacuation time, but the other school buses that are just sitting possibly on the lot and maybe may be in danger of the hurricane, if we could maybe network with a school that's further out of danger so that our school buses can be, we wouldn't have to buy new school buses if they were inundated with a lot of water or whatever.
Sure.
Thank you,
something to consider.
Let the record reflect Mr. Cortez has joined us. Mr. Aguilar?
Thank you, sir. Also, just a reminder, sir, that it's nice to put it in the computer, in the website. However, majority of our citizens do not sometimes. Those that really need to know the information about hurricanes do not have a computer. So perhaps we can find other means to have this information for them, perhaps at the schools, at a PTO, PTA, whatever it is, that they can relay this information to these parents, especially those that do not have a computer, sir.
That'd be a great idea. Thank you.
Mr. Powers?
Thank you, President Escobedo. I've witnessed firsthand Category 2s twice, going out at 1 o'clock in the morning to the campuses, and I've seen you guys are prepared. The security, the police officers, administration, you guys are very prepared. I mean, we have an outlet here, and it's just this constant go on just two-way radios and movement, and the people that are at the Porter or was at Pace or when it was at Central or at Hanna, I mean, they've been providing great services. We have never had a 4 or 5 yet, guys. I've been here 9 years, so pray to God we don't have one of those. One of the things I think we have hit on the evacuation process is that a lot of it has to do with the putting it in the paper also. Because like my mother, till this day, does not own a computer. And she won't buy a computer because she doesn't feel she needs to do it because she's 70-something years old. So I think the Herald comes into plan. I know we do a lot of that with the Herald when it comes to giving the numbers on a major evacuation, which, like you said, the county takes over, the federal government takes over, everybody takes over. So, but as far as 1, 2, or 3, I think we have an immaculate staff that does a great job providing service to our children and our people out there in Brownsville. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Any other questions or comments from Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Gonzalez, one issue that I'd like to bring up and clarify, this book manual we've had in place, how many years?
It's been around for how long, Chief? About, since I can remember, 10 years ago.
Yes, sir. It's been around for at least 5 years, but it's been updated every year, actually.
The only reason I bring this up is because, well, I guess during Dr. Salkowski's reign, maybe 3 years ago, when I guess Katrina was coming our way, and it turned out to be going up a little bit north, I believe the command, the emergency command operations, which is I think takes over is the county judge, and I think he technically almost commandeered our buses, but I think our administrator did not want to relinquish the buses, so I don't see any language or what is the legal aspect, I guess, and what is the procurement process by which that takes over. There was a breakdown, tremendous breakdown. Had that been catastrophic, we wouldn't have moved anyone. So I think we were at fault technically by not, I guess, heeding the commands or the requests of the county judge, who I guess would be in that power to do so. So how are we going to deal with that?
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, what I met with the people, I met with last year with the governor's office and from the county office, and basically it's an executive order from the governor, and that's we don't argue with executive orders from the governor. It's as good as a law, and they have a plan in place, and they've expanded that plan and let me know exactly what that plan is, and basically it's movement. They will take over our buses, and our bus drivers, the ones that wish to work and drive the buses, will be asked. Those that they will not be forced to drive the buses, and I believe that those that are not, then the National Guard will take over and drive the buses. So this is basically we're at their disposal at that particular time, and we will set up. This is why the chief has already come up with what schools. If you looked at that section of pickup points, that's in case of a Cat 4 or 5.
Yes.
We will announce it to the newspaper, to the media. Go to this school if you don't have transportation to get out, and the buses will be there to pick you up. The plan they had in place last year, and I don't know if it's changed. Correct me if I have. Stop me if I make an error here, Chief.
Yes, sir.
But I believe it would be they would pick up here, and they would take him to San Benito.
Correct.
And in San Benito they would get in another bus to go to San Antonio.
Correct.
That's the way it works, and so our buses become totally available to them. They will bring other buses from throughout the state, Laredo, San Antonio, wherever they can get buses to pick up the people in San Benito and to transport them to San Antonio.
So to answer my question, then the order comes not from the county judge, but from whom? Because there was a problem last time.
It's an executive order from the governor, and the county judge knows the plan.
Correct.
Okay, so because I didn't want the procurement process to become a commandeering process, and then we're late in reacting. So I think we need to learn from that mistake or that incident where we didn't react, and then we just denied access to our buses. And I want to make sure that there is some kind of plan or command plan or chain of command that...
It's been cleared up, Mr. Lehman, since that particular time, that it's a 4 or 5 executive order from the governor, and they take over, and we just facilitate as much as we can.
I think the problem was, if I remember correctly, was not that we didn't want to lend anybody our buses, but that during the storm itself, beyond a certain wind speed, the buses were unsafe, and that's where the problem was.
And I think that it is a problem. We brought that up. We have numerous meetings, and that was one of the things that we brought up to the county, to the people from the governor's office. So now, if they see that the evacuation will not take effect 24 hours before the storm hits, or during the storm hit, this evacuation will take place quite a bit in advance, 3 to 4 days in advance.
Well, my question is, who's in command? If somebody calls an order and then we say no because
county judge.
That's a good example, then we can't second judge, say, well, there's too much wind. I think it became a legal aspect because of the legalities. But my question is, to be answered, who's in command and who takes over, and that's it. You can't have 3 chiefs.
No.
You can only have one, and that's it. Somebody's going to have to take a responsibility.
And this year...
This is an example where communication broke down, and it could have been catastrophic.
This year would be the county judge.
And then if things pan out the other
sure
way,
we'll work well
got
together.
somebody to blame, so...
Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, it does rain pretty hard in San Benito. Buddy.
Oh, yes, I don't know how they're going to get there.
Moving on to item 3, presentation of financial report for May 2007. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, it's available to you all. If you have any questions, Mr. Sanchez
Questions
will be
on the
glad to
financial
answer
report?
them.
If not, we move on. Mr. Lehman.
Page 35. I want to thank Mr. Sanchez for putting the double asterisk on there. Finally, he's smiling. But on the one asterisk, if I can have a breakdown of the chargebacks, specifically what utilities, how many? There should be 3, but there's 2, I guess. The waste and electricity, right? I'd just like to see the apportionment.
Trash and
The electric and
utilities.
water.
Yeah.
Or the PUB and the GMS, but can I have that separated, or just for my own indulgence?
Sure. Mr.
Thank you.
Sanchez, can you get that for us? Send it out.
We can either do that, or I can send it to you in a Friday update if you want to.
Yeah, send it on the Friday update.
Whatever the boss
Send it to my
says.
office. We'll send it out.
Any other questions or comments on the financial report? If not, then we move on to item 4, presentation of notification of betterment fund change orders. Mr. Gonzalez.
It's there. It's continuing the change orders between Falcon Steel Wings. Any questions?
Questions, comments on the board? If not, we move on to item B, signing board agenda items. 5, board calendars. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. I do have some additions because at the time I hadn't planned on having some committee meetings, but as I get more information, I'm trying to provide the updates. Next week on the 24th of, if it's okay with Mr. Powers, because he's in charge of the insurance, I'd like to have a joint meeting of the insurance committee, the board insurance committee, and the staff insurance committee to go over the presentation by McGriff on the DPAs for health insurance.
Mr. Powers?
I don't have a problem with it, as long as the other committee members don't have a problem with it. Nobody?
Just one question.
Mr. Lehman.
Will we get backup information if
Yes.
we're going to participate?
Yes. We hope to get it out by the 23rd, so you'll have it on the Monday to review before you come.
Well, in the past, we got their packets. I mean, will we be able to read what they're submitting or not?
Yes, we will provide and it'll be available to you if you want to see each individual packet, but to do, I think we had
Okay, fine. As long as it's-
32 proposals, I believe, right? Is that what it was, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, sir, Mr. Gonzalez. I'm not understanding, are you going to go see the individual proposals submitted? No. Would you see a summary? Yes.
What I'm saying is we'll do a matrix for it, but if you...
No, but I understand the matrix is always forthcoming, but if I wanted to see the finalists, can I see their entire package?
Sure, the board is always available to see the packages they want to.
Just leave the box of applications at the superintendent's office
That's
for any
fine.
board members that want to review it.
Yeah, anybody wants to review it can go to my office and sit down and review each one.
The box or the boxes?
Boxes, plural.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Colunga?
Thank you, Dr. Escobar. I have a conflict for the 24th. That's something to...
Mr. Powers?
It will be up to Mr. Powers.
What about 25th?
25th is fine.
25th is okay with me then.
I have no problem with the 25th.
Or the 25th it is?
No, 25th? We'll move it to the 25th. Then I would like to have a follow-up meeting, because at that particular time we'll get a lot of feedback from the board as well as from the insurance people. And this is so important for me that we get it right, because this is something that's going to be set in stone for a while. That I'd like to have a follow-up meeting on the 31st, another insurance committee the following Tuesday. We don't have a board meeting the 31st, the last of July, 31st of July.
Oh, 31st of July,
Yes, that will be the next meeting,
which is Tuesday.
the Tuesday. You have conflict with that? We can move to August 1st if you so desire.
A similar conflict.
Okay, August 1st.
The Tuesday, Wednesday is open,
Okay.
or I prefer a Wednesday if possible, but
Okay, August 1st.
whatever the
August
board is.
1st.
Yeah, August 1st.
Also, because of issues, they have update 79 and update 80 from TASB concerning policies. Mr. Aguilar, I believe you're the chair. Can we possibly have a policy committee meeting on July the 30th, on a Monday? Anybody?
No problem? So be it. Done.
You can't, do you want to move it? Or? Do you mind if we have a policy committee meeting on Tuesday without, I mean, it's hard to find days.
No problem.
No problem? We'll do it on Tuesday then, policy on the 31st? Okay, that's even better, I don't have to come on a Monday. And then on August, as we go through August, on Thursday, August the 2nd, I would like to go ahead and have a special call board meeting, Mr. President.
Thursday, August the 2nd, that's fine.
For the particular purposes of possibly adopting a TPA for the health insurance. We need to have it, because we need to get it in place and running, because we have to have everything ready to sign up and so on and so forth. Hopefully after 2 meetings, we'll be able to iron it out. And if we need a third one, that would be the day that we can discuss anything and iron it out in there. Those are just proposals.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes.
When is the meeting, when is the insurance meeting?
The committee meetings will be on the 25th and August 1st.
Dr. Escobedo, is it possible that the superintendent could send us an updated calendar on Friday with the meeting?
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yes, definitely. I'm just trying to get them corrected right now, so I'll know where to put them, so I can know exactly where. I didn't want to call them without having the whole board sheet, because these are important meetings. And so we'll have a special call board meeting on the 2nd. And Thursday. And then you see the rest of them. We have the next board meeting on August the 7th. And then we start with campus administrators in service on the 9th. And really, school starts, the first day of class, I know a lot of people watched, is going to be on Monday, the 27th of August is the first day of school. And we cannot start it any earlier, that's by law.
First day back for teachers?
The first day back for teachers is 2 weeks prior to that. 1 week prior to that. New teacher in service is on the 18th, and staff development starts on the 20th. So we'll be back and running in the last of August. Any questions? I'll send you an updated calendar on that.
If not, then we move on to item 9, public audience. The next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be printed during other portions of the meetings, so please let us hear from you now if you wish your comments if you have comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear in the sign-in sheet, which is located in the rear of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments, and with all due courtesy, I will strictly enforce that time limit. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comment, in my judgment, constitutes a complaint against an employee or an officer, I will interrupt and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the BISD formal grievance procedures, be that DGBA, FNG, or GF local. With those cautions in mind, I will now be glad to hear your general comments. And our first speaker is Porter TSA, National Results.
President of the board, board members, administration, audience, friends. On June 23rd, Porter High School students traveled to Nashville, Tennessee to compete at the Technology Student Association National Conference. The event categories were based on principles and concepts learned through the year involving science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as well as leadership skills. In order to compete in these events, these students needed to qualify at the regional and state level. The results were as follows. Out of 60 teams, chapter team orals competition, we came in 9th place. As I call your name, students, please step forward to be recognized. Eric Caraveo, Eric Rodriguez, Jose Pesina, Alyssa Gomez, Pamela Lopez, and Crystal Castaneda. Let's give them a big hand. Out of 75 teams in structural engineering, This group came in 8th place. Mark Tarrant and Joey Martinez is out of town, but Mark is here today. Let's give him a big hand. In 5th place nationally in Systems Control Technology, Zach Sant, Raymond Garcia, and Moises Lara. Congratulations. Third place in Transportation Modeling, Christian Menard. And he also got a national trophy. The next 3 students I will be introducing to you are national champions in their respective events. The first student placed first in desktop publishing, Zaida Garate. Zaida will be attending MIT in the fall, and her bachelor's, master's, and doctorate's degrees are paid for. Wow. Jose Piscina, first place in Chapter Teen Written. Best score in 29 years. He will be attending Harvard. Daniel Garcia, first place, national champion, architectural animation. He's a junior. He will be returning this year. We also are very involved with leadership with our students. This past year we had 2 state officers. We had a reporter and we had a state president. Zaida was our state president this past year. Alyssa was elected as state president for this coming year. However, she took the challenge to run for national office. I told her, go for it. You have nothing to lose. So she ran for vice president in the national level, and she is our new vice national president. We've come a long way. The magnet school at Porter has been there since 1992. In 1998, we went to our first national competition where we had 1 top 10 and we were in 10th place. So as you see, we've come a long way and we're very proud of our students at Porter. I hope they can continue. The people behind them, they see what they've done and they don't want to be the ones that are not going to be doing well the following year. So again, let's give them a big hand. And one last thing, Robert Zamora was one of our students. He just graduated from MIT. He graduated with a double major in physics and aerospace engineering, and he will be working in his master's at the University of Chicago. Thank you.
If you would come around, we'd like to shake your hand, greet you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great job. All right. National Vice President. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right. Harvard. Have you back one more year. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Make us proud. Thanks.
Thanks for everything you do.
Again, congratulations to our Porter TSA. Thank you for representing our district, our community, and for making us proud. I hope that we can put them on our home page for a while and give them more of the recognition they strongly deserve. Our next speaker is Skills USA Porter High School National Winners.
Board President Dr. Escobedo, board members, and Mr. Gonzalez. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to present before you a group of students that are very special to me. They've gone a long way and succeeded at a national level. The students, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to give a little history on them because I feel they've earned that. The team that went to Kansas City, Missouri, it was during June 24th through the 30th, pretty much had destiny written all over them. Since day one, it was pretty obvious they were going to get up to the national level and accomplish what they accomplished. The team consists, it's a news anchor team, and basically what they have to do, it consists of 3 members, a technical director and 2 news anchors. And basically the technical director has to run a switcher where they have to run 3-camera operation along with switching to video. And it's 2 videos that they have to switch into while they're doing their newscast. The news anchors have to go through a series of news stories, can be anywhere from 20 to 40 news stories, decide what are the most newsworthy, rewrite those stories because it's wire stories, print stories, and they have to condense them from, say, a 3 to 5 minute news story to a 15-second news story or less without losing the content or the credibility of the story. It is quite a task, believe me. The technical director for our national team was Rolando Gonzalez. He also happens to be my nephew, and I'm proud of him. It's not his first time around. He's been around the block once before. In 2005, he also medaled at the national level. So this is his 2nd medal at the national level. His experience, well, he's been a KBSD intern, and he has been a technical director for KBSD on the high school football games for 3 years. And therefore, his ability to technical direct, what can I say, it's incomparable. As Lamont Warren, the technical chair at the national level, who happens to be the news director at Seattle, Washington, the number 20 market, pretty much told him, bar none. It was flawless. I couldn't find any mistakes. And that is awesome. I'm going to miss him. He is a senior. He just graduated. We're going to lose an individual who has been there without question since his freshman year. All I had to do was, and we call him Papas. Since he's my nephew, it's a long story. I'm not going to go there. But as soon as I would say Papas, he just asked where, when, what time. No questions asked. He never questioned what I was trying to teach him. He never questioned what he needed to do. As he put it to me once, I want to go to nationals. I'll do whatever it takes. No questions. And pretty much proved it with actions, not words. News anchors. Junior, who is going to be a senior next year, Virginia Sandoval, is a news anchor. Virginia started competing last year, her sophomore year. And Virginia, what can I say? She has an uncanny ability to put stories together, and her writing ability is pretty much unmatched. She is very good at what she does. Her performance, brilliant at best. I mean, I can't say anything else. She's got the body language, she's got the facials, you name it, she's going to nail it. That's the way she does things. She has an uncanny ability to find words that she can put out there, what we call meaning-laden words, and put them out there to where it's going to be grasped and understood without question. She is going to be a senior next year. She will be our National Technical Honor Society president, and she is the student body president for next year at Porter High School. And regardless of what she takes on, she's going to succeed. She's a great student. Virginia. And finally, the baby of the group. She was a freshman last year, and wow, what can I say about Georgina Vargas? She came in and pretty raw the freshman year, but the one thing she had is she had that, that sparkle in her eye and that fire in her heart, and she wanted to compete and she wanted to do good. So as a freshman, she was in my classroom at morning, lunchtime, and after school, practicing. She said she wanted to go to nationals, and she was not going to fail at that. And she always spoke about that. Even through the summer, she would come in and practice because she wanted to succeed. This year, her sophomore year, she said once in a meeting we had that for Christmas she wanted nationals. Jokingly and ironically, I said, I'm the only one that can get you there. And she got there. She is a little firecracker. She's full of passion, and she loves to pour her heart into what she does. It doesn't matter what it is. She's committed, dedicated, and there is no doubt in my mind she will have great success. The beauty of this team in our competition, the point separation at any level is 4 to 6 points from first to second. At our district competition, this team won by 45 points. In our state competition, they won by 35 points. And at the national level, they beat out the competition by 34 points. It is unprecedented in our competition. It is inconceivable. But they were destined since day one. They poured their hearts out. They would practice during vacation. They would practice at any time. They just wanted to win. And I want to say that I am very proud to present to you our national winning news anchor team for Porter High School.
Congratulations. Great job.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
It's on TV. I'll be seeing you on TV.
Again, congratulations to the Porter High School Skills USA, our national winners. There's no doubt that we have a lot of talent within our district. Again, thank you and congratulations, and best of luck in your future endeavors. Our next speaker is Roger Arredondo, Career Focused Education.
Good evening. Mr. Escobedo, President of the Board, members of the Board, Superintendent Hector Gonzalez, and fellow administrators. Today, I want to talk to you about a focused education, education reform. If we continue to do the things we've always done, we'll continue to get the same results we've always gotten. But before I go into that, I want to congratulate Mr. Gus Solis and all of the magnet for engineering profession teachers for a beautiful job in what they did, and Mr. Ben Melendez, Skills USA, Tech Prep Education, because this is exactly what I want to talk about. They did a beautiful job. All students should go into high school wanting something. Now, our biggest mistake is not preparing them at the middle school to want to go into the 4 most important years of their life and prepare for life after high school. It is no wonder that a lot of the students are not turned on. But this is a problem that has existed for many, many years, in the 70s and 80s. But in the 80s, in 1984, the Carl D. Perkins Federal Education Act changed vocational education as we knew it and changed it into careers and professions. And they said, we need to do something to change those dropout rates. We need to get students prepared for life after high school. And by the end of the 90s, we had already done a lot. In 1990-91, the entire nation was suffering from dropouts, and Brownsville went into strategic planning to find out what it was that we could do to get those students. That education reformed to keep students interested, to prepare them for life, careers and professions. The one thing that we did not do, and we have it in paper, but we do not have it integrated into the curriculum. A lot of these activities are already there. The fine arts, they do a beautiful job in athletics and ROTC. And there's a lot of career and technology programs, but they're all operating in a tangent. They are not a composite integrated part of the general education plan. This is what brought the magnet programs into being, because we were mandated when we accepted the federal funds for Carl Perkins, and we still do it every year. We needed to move in that direction, integrating academics and technology education so that students learn to read and write and do math and science in a context. Superintendent Gonzalez and President Escobedo, we need to look again at doing these things. I'm offering to help in any way we can to get the community involved. Educating a child is not the sole responsibility of BISD. It has to be a community effort. And I've always found the business community to be very receptive to come in and work with us and do things so that we can prepare a larger percentage of our students to go graduate from high school, prepare for college or college and employment, and continue in their path to a successful member of our society. I'd like to work with you in any way we can to get the best qualified administrator for this department, because all education should be preparation for life after high school, and career and technology should play a very big and important part. I am encouraging and asking you all to look into this and find out what it is that we can do to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Arredondo. Our next speaker is Mr. Brett Dickinson. Congratulations and greetings from Senator Lucio and CTE Direction.
Thank you. Superintendent Gonzalez, Mr. President, members of the board, area superintendents. On behalf of Senator Lucio and Representative Eddie Lucio III, they're up in Austin right now. They could not be here, but they wish to offer their heartiest congratulations to the national winners, their teachers, and the parents. And they are great supporters of career and technology. In fact, Eddie Lucio III sponsored legislation this year for a reimbursement of certification fees and things like that for our students. So they wanted to send the message to the board and to the students and parents how much they support what is happening and the direction. As secretary of the BISD Industrial and Engineering Advisory Board, I've been asked to come and make a request on behalf of this committee. Has come to our understanding that some of the very qualified applicants for the Career and Technology Administrator's position have not been allowed to interview because they did not meet the Professional Mid-Management Certificate requirement. And their question was, what state mandate do we have that this position requires that mid-management certificate? According to our research and our understanding, we haven't been able to find any. And so their question is, if this is not the case, why are we excluding, according to them, some of the most qualified applicants? I just got back from presenting at state level on the integration of academics in career and technology on behalf of the district, and one of the administrators I met there was directly hired out of industry by Northeast San Antonio School District without any degree in or professional management degree. It is possible that a person that has a vocational supervisor certificate along with a master's degree could take almost the identical classes, or many of the same classes as those pursuing a mid-management certificate, could have far more teaching experience in career and technology, far more experience in supervising in career and technology, and youth leadership. In addition, that person could have far more experience writing grants for Carl Perkins. But yet, the way the position was written, they would not be allowed to interview. So our community members and on behalf of our committee, we would like to ask that position be reopened and the requirement for a professional mid-management certificate be removed from that. these students that we just saw, we're talking about competing against the top students in the United States. We're talking about students from Brownsville at the top level in this country. And those students didn't get there unless there was a tremendous passion on the part of these teachers. These teachers that are, I know them personally, spent tremendous amount of hours. These students spent tremendous amount of hours. And we need a career and technology director that has the same passion and vision that Roger Arredondo did, that laid the groundwork that during his administration brought Brownsville not only to be state recognized, but to be nationally recognized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. And our final speaker is Elsa Duarte Noboa. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Dual language program.
Good evening, Superintendent Gonzalez, board members, and the audience here. My name is Elsa Duarte Noboa, and I am part of the faculty at the University of Texas in Brownsville in the School of Education, Department of Curriculum and Instruction. I come before you, first of all, to congratulate you about the wonderful news coming out of Porter High School, the magnet school. This is wonderful news for us. I hope the Brownsville Herald will carry it so that we can be proud of what our school district is doing. I come to you because I came across an article from the San Antonio Express News about the legislation bill that was passed recently this spring called House Bill 2814. This House Bill 2814 basically establishes a dual language education pilot program to study the effectiveness of placing both native English and non-English speakers in the same classroom. This bill would have the Commissioner of Education choose up to 10 school districts and 30 schools to participate in this project. My question is, considering the research that has been done on dual language by Drs. Thomases and Collier, by Gomez and Gomez, etc., and knowing the success of effective dual language programs, I am aware that Brownsville at one time did have grants for dual language programs. I'm wondering if you have any plans to contact TEA or the Commissioner of Education to see if you would be considering dual language programs in this school district. And that's it. I just would like to have a response.
Thank you very much. And I will suggest that you contact the superintendent's office, and they'll gladly talk to you regarding whatever it is that concerns you. Moving on to item 10, closed meeting as pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 and 082. We now go to closed session to 10, Level 3 Board Grievance, number 6, Kenneth Leak, number 001-07/08. The board now goes to closed session. The board reconvenes after closed meeting. Moving on to item 7, board action on Level 3 Grievance, Kenneth Leak, number 001-07/08. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion? The item dies for lack of motion. Moving on, item 11, consent agenda. I have received a list from my colleagues indicating there is no need for discussion or deliberation of the following agenda items. Under consent agenda, general functions, item number 12 and 14 will be discussed. 15? 12, 14, and 15. 12, 14, and 15 will be discussed. And under closed meeting personnel matters, 34, 35, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42 will be discussed. So just very quickly, 12, 14, 15, 34, 35, 38 through 42 will be discussed. All other items are on the consent agenda. I will now entertain a motion to approve the recommendations of administration as reflected by the consent agenda.
Move.
Motion by Mr. Parra, second by Mr. Aguilar. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
A motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 12, recommend approval to declare obsolete equipment as surplus to be sold by public auction on Saturday, July 28, 2007. Mr. Lehman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gonzalez, the items don't show the computers and monitors. Those have been set aside? What's the status on that?
Mr. Gonzalez?
The computers and the monitors, as you're well aware, we passed an agenda item last board meeting whereby we're going to get into a lease program with Dell, and that Dell was going to pick up all the computers and give us credit on them, so on the lease of the computers from now on. So all those computers that were in the warehouse are going to go back to Dell on a credit basis to us.
Okay, can I have a list of that as far as what the monetary amount is, what the gain is?
Sure, we'll be glad to do that once we get it done.
In account?
Sanchez, can you get that to us?
Sure.
We'll send it out to all the board members. When we get it.
Dr. Escobar, do you feel we'll be making, Mr. Gonzalez, do you feel we'll be making more money going to the lease versus the auction?
Definitely.
Okay.
Without a question.
No.
We get $5 for a pellet.
Right. I commend, sometimes we need to open our eyes.
Right.
But I want to make sure that if some of these units are unusable, that our own staff and people in our system get first crack at them.
And from now on, Mr. Lehman, just for your information, members of the board, what we passed the last time around is we will no longer have any surplus computers that'll all be traded in. This is the last time we have surplus computers.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not,
no.
Have a motion to approve this item as stated.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Powers, seconded by Mr. Aguilar. In favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 14, consideration, discussion, and possible action to propose adoption of a resolution to change the uniform election date for Brownsville School District in order to comply with the joint election requirements mandated by Section 11.0581 of the Texas Education Code and to adjust the current terms of trustees appropriately. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. These two agenda items I put in consultation with the school attorney because we're simply in a predicament that we're it's either November or May, and we need to get through. We have Senate Bill 670, I believe, that says that we have till December 31st of 2007 to make any changes if we're going to make some changes. I believe I sent you out a flyer from TASB that basically says that the Secretary of State is advising, not mandating, but advising that there will be no November 07 elections. So with that in mind, I need the board to really start thinking, maybe not even take any action tonight, but really know where we're going. If we're not going to go with November 07, then what are we going to do? We're going to do May. Do we need Mr. Saldaña to do more research and give you what else do you need to make a final decision? Do we want to lean toward and if we are going to do yearly elections, and we do go to May for yearly elections, do we want to continue with Rancho Viejo and the city of Brownsville on alternate years? If we want to stay with November and there's no compromise, then we'd have to go to November 08. And I gave you a couple of scenarios. Within this, the Secretary of State does, and the Attorney General does allow for a transition that needs to be approved, though. Once the board adopts a transition and goes to 3 or 4 year terms, those transitions have to be there. All I gave you was a May scenario to get you in line with the city of Brownsville. If you went with May, that's what it would take to get you in line with the city of Brownsville. It's difficult. You have to really look at it. It took some time for me to decipher exactly how it's done, but that's the way it works. If you wanted to go to 4 year terms because you wanted to have the election with the city of Brownsville, with the city of Brownsville only has elections for officers, what we consider officers or city commissioners or mayor or whatever, on alternate years, odd-numbered years, in other words. If you stay with the county, they're even-numbered years. Rancho Viejo, which is part of, and we verified, Ms. Perez did look at it and said a small section of BISD is in the precinct of Rancho Viejo. Rancho Viejo in itself is in Los Fresnos, but part of Rancho Viejo is in Brownsville. So that qualifies us for having a joint election with them. The joint election, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Saldaña, is that Not only do you have to have a joint election, but you have to have a joint election at the time that the municipality or the county is doing an election of officers. It just can't be an election. It has to be when they're electing either city commissioners, mayors, county commissioners, whatever the case may be. There has to be an election of people at that particular time. And it can't be with the port. It has to be with the municipality or the county. So when you look at all those scenarios, you have scenario. And another thing that came up, you looked at the flyer, which really, Mike had a very good, Mr. Saldana had a very good plan there the last time, where he would get 2 board members to reduce their terms to 2.5 years. However, in the flyer that came out from TASB, he said you cannot shorten terms, because they were elected to serve 3 years. You can extend, but you cannot shorten. So that really puts us into a pickle. So if you wanted to go with May, you saw something that's workable. If you wanted to stay with November, then you saw what happens in November. And I'm going to tell you the only thing that happens in November that I have a concern about, and it's just me. As a superintendent of schools, I have to bring that concern up, because I'm not going to be here forever, and other superintendents are going to come in and so on. But you have 5 people in one time, unless you decided to extend people to 5.5 years or whatever, in order to get 3 and 4, which I don't think we could recommend that. I mean, that'd be kind of stretching it. So as I look at it, you have options to do. It's a matter of policy. It's not just a matter of superintendent making a recommendation or even Mr. Saldana making a recommendation. It's a matter of policy. But my job in this district as your superintendent is to give you all the information so you can make sound decisions. And now I'll open it up to any questions you might ask, or might want to ask Mr. Saldana, or if Mr. Saldana wants to make any comments or whatever.
Dr. Escobedo, I just want to correct Mr. Gonzalez. You stated you only gave us the May scenario. You did give us a November scenario.
No, I give May and November.
Okay. Your comments only mentioned May.
Oh, I apologize.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So we do have both scenarios.
Yes.
So,
from my perspective, from superintendent's perspective, this is basically it.
No, I understand that, but I mean, we do have the November scenario.
Yes.
As far as backup information. I just wanted to clarify that.
Mr. Cortez?
Yeah, I had requested last time a breakdown of costs. We didn't get it in our backup. That's something that I know it would have helped me make a better decision.
And you know, Mr. Cortez, if I may?
Yes, please.
I know that that everybody's harping about cost. Cost is going to be there. I mean, when we went into November elections, we thought we were going to get cheaper costs or lesser costs to the district. And in all essence, we don't know. You know that the person in charge of the county has not given me the final breakdown of cost. The Secretary of State asked for us to do an evaluation, and I couldn't even give him the final cost because I don't know. The way the county looks at it is very differently than we look at it. I don't think we should bear 1/3 of the cost for the entire county in November. If you look at what is May going to be costing, if you go with Rancho Viejo, we hope that the elections administrator would jump in and charge the Port of Brownsville, and maybe we could all have it together with the port and the university and everything, and not just charge Rancho Viejo. And in the case of Rancho Viejo, I'll tell you this much: they have 1 precinct, we have a whole bunch, so the cost would be enormous. There is no set cost. The reason I didn't give you a price, I didn't want to hold anybody to say, based on the numbers Mr. Gonzalez gave us, this is the decision we're making. I have no idea what the costs are going to be. The costs are going to be high regardless. If you go into November, you're looking at running at the same time 5 board members with the elections for the President of the United States, U.S. Senators, U.S. Representatives, big county races, sheriffs, you name it, county commissioners, and you have 5 positions with 5 opponents, 10 people on the board running for board positions. I don't know how that would go with the public, but that would be something that you would, that those are 5 positions. You could stretch somebody out and make it 4 and 3, but you still have at least 3 or 4 running at the same time that you have presidential elections. That's something to consider. I think that's more a consideration than cost. How much are those elections going to cost? A lot of money. How much does the county say that the BISD is going to have to pay? That would be something we'd have to figure out. If you went with the city of Brownsville, you know, we've paid in the past 70 to 80,000. It could be higher depending on what the cost would be. But you go with Rancho Viejo, I don't know how much that's going to be, because once we put all the entities in there, and Roger Ortiz or whoever the elections administrator is for the county, because we're going to still have to contract with the county. We're not going to do anything by ourselves. They're going to dictate what the cost is going to be. I think regardless of where we go, we're going to have our own ballots. That's a fixed cost, regardless. I don't think anybody, and you got to remember that we're not allowed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the school district is not allowed to say you're a Democrat or a Republican. You're strictly non-political in nature. So when we go with those, and you have a whole bunch of Democrats and a whole bunch of Republicans voting straight line or not, you're going to have a different ballot, regardless. So it's all I'm giving you is information. Decision should not be based on cost, because eventually your cost is going to be the same, whether you go from one in an odd numbered years or with the county or with the city. If we take cost into consideration, we'll never finish, because we have no real reliable numbers. Right now, Roger Ortiz is still trying to figure out how much have we actually paid so far for November? $67,000. How much have we been billed after that? We're billed. We questioned the bill, and they said, "Wait, you got a point, Mr. Gonzalez." When I met with Roger, I met with County Judge Cascos. We met, we discussed it, and we went into it in depth, myself and Berta Peña, and he said, "You have some very valid points."
We might get a credit, right?
He said, "We're going to look at it. Roger's going to come back with the numbers." He said, "Give me 2 to 3 weeks." Well, it's been 2 or 3 months. They still haven't given me the cost, because we asked them, "Give me the breakdown." I'm just not going to write you a check. Give me the breakdown. I gave you a $67,000 deposit for me to go back and recommend to my board to give you another check for $70,000 or whatever. Give me the breakdown. Am I paying for Port Isabel? Am I paying for Harlingen? Am I paying for Los Fresnos? Who am I paying for, Roger? He said, "Well, you just can't say 1/3 of the county bill is mine, because I don't go 1/3 of the county. And I'm not going to pay all of that bill." So I'm still debating on that. We're still waiting on that. And Carlos Cascos, County Judge, was very reasonable in our meeting. He said, "We have some very valid points. We'll get back to you." And we still haven't gotten that getting back to me. So what will be the final cost of the county elections? I have no idea. But I do know that the county does have to budget for their elections, period. And then we pitch in. As far as the city is concerned, I don't know. We got a new mayor, we got some city commissioners. I don't know how they would split the cost on that, but at least it's located citywide. So there's a lot of scenarios as far as cost is concerned. So to try to tell me, "Hector, can you give me a cost?" I can't. I have no real numbers to give you, because I haven't even gotten the final bill from the county yet, the true final bill. I hope that answers the question.
I just want to inform the board that under the election code 271.004, allocation of election expenses, and this one paragraph or one sentence, the expenses of a joint election are allocated as provided by the joint election agreement, and that's what we agree with the joint participants, and not be held hostage at one price, because in November, and I'm not just advocating for November, but November, as far as the expense is concerned, that's what we're arguing. The fact that the county is obligated when in an election, that's what do you call that type of election when you have a presidential or a general election? That is called by the governor and the county according to the statute, and that's another section. He's mandated, or he's authorized and mandated to hold that election, and he has to fit the bill to a certain degree, and we have to pay our portion. I would assume that, but we would have to come into agreement with them, and it's something that's just. I don't think we should pay twice for holding an election that someone else is obligated to hold. We're willing to participate and pay an apportionate share. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Mr. Powers? Thank you, Dr. Esquivel, the President. Ms. Gonzalez, the only thing I can see on this election thing, one, we're going to have to table it probably, but I'm going to tell you what I see here on the savings. If you do with the city, we'll have 4 straight years of an election. Then after, on the 12th and every even year, there's no cost to the district, 12th, 14th, 16th. You go with the county, we see a savings starting on 2009, no election, immediately, 2011. So we go city, we have 4 straight years of elections. If you go county, we only have 2 elections in 4 years. So that's where you're going to look at the savings fee. So that's just your thought.
It's what you got to look at.
So we see it immediately with the county, but the city takes 4 years. So we got to really have a hard decision to make, guys.
It is.
Mr. Cortez?
I have a question. I'm looking at the letter that was sent in our backup from TASB Legal. It says, general trustee elections for most November electing districts must now be held in November of even number years only. So are they asking us, because we're already in November electing school boards, to move to the November electing school year? I mean, to the November election?
I discussed that with Mr. Saldana. Nobody's asking you to do anything. All they're telling you is that your November election is going to be, if you decide, and this is a corporate, as a body whole, if you decide to stay with November, which is your prerogative, then we will have to adjust the terms, and you will have an election starting in November 08. You will not have an election in November 07. Does it mean that you have to stay in November? No, you can move to May, but then you have to do a transition plan. It's very specific in that flyer. The transition plan must be adopted by the board with resolutions and to get final approval from the Secretary of State to be able to do that transition plan. So you got some hard digging to do as to how you want to transition yourselves. Whether you want to stay in November, you want to stay in May, do you want to stay with 3-year terms and have alternate years, one with the city of Brownsville and the other with the city of Rancho Viejo? I mean, there's many scenarios that are there. I was just based on the consensus that we had the last time. You all said, we want to go with the city of Brownsville. That's how you get there with 4-year terms. Can you have 3-year terms and have alternate years, one with the city and one with Rancho Viejo? Conceivably, Mike, we could, right? So, see what I'm saying? It's a matter of policy. What do we want to go? Do we want to go to 4-year terms and have it in alternate years, odd number or even number? If you go to November, there's a strong possibility that 5 board members will have expired their terms by that time. So you have 5 board members running with 2 already in November, and extend them to 4-year terms to be able to have that. Or, you know, you can extend more than the 4 years for a transition plan. But the final analysis, the transition plan has to be approved by somebody. We just can't do it. Mike would have to send it to the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State for final approval.
Mr. Saldana?
Dr. Escobedo, Mr. Gonzalez, I just want to make just a couple of very minor comments. I think Mr. Gonzalez has just about covered all the bases on this thing. A lot of the advice that I gave last time still stands. All right? I had a long talk with TASB on Monday, and I realized that they're making a call. They're giving some advice, but after talking to them, I realized that they're still not very solid on where they stand. Okay. Unfortunately, this is an issue that's been created by Austin, not by the local districts. This is not self-inflicted. This is something that was inflicted by the Texas legislature over the period of the last 2 sessions. And unfortunately, school districts all over the state have had to make some type of adjustments one way or the other. Whether the elections had been moved or not moved, we still would have have to make adjustments because of this, for lack of a better word, meddling with local control that's being issued by Austin. Just with some minor points that I differ, I did not have an opportunity to review this particular scenarios that were put forth to you by Mr. Gonzalez. I did not see those till around 4:30 this afternoon, so I really have not had the opportunity to study them.
One thing I want to say, Mike, we did send it to your office.
Yeah.
On Friday.
Okay, well, if it was, Mr. Gonzalez, I apologize, it was not in my package that Ms. Galvan?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry,
But,
what was not
regardless,
in your, what was not in the packet?
Well, it wasn't part of the backup of the agenda.
What document?
These two. I sent them out.
Mr. Saldana, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. Regardless, I still want more chance to study this, okay? Because Mr. Gonzalez obviously has become very familiar with the situation and has put forth some very realistic scenarios that are out there. The only one that I'm not quite sure of, and I'm somewhat differing, is the issue of whether 5 would go up. I still haven't had the opportunity to figure that out exactly. If we would go to a May election. Having said that, Mr. Gonzalez, just to sum it up, Mr. Gonzalez is basically correct. What is for sure is that this November election pretty much is being recommended against. This is an about-face that the Secretary of State has made in the last 2 weeks. I had personally consulted with not only attorneys, but attorney supervisors from the Secretary of State. They have made, after my conversations with TASB indicated that they made an about-face just 2 weeks ago, and that explains a lot of the reasons why I've not had my phone calls returned from the Secretary of State, because I had been pretty much assured. But nonetheless, they were very careful in the advice that they gave me, and they qualified everything with, this can change tomorrow. And in talking to TASB, they've also told me that their advice can change tomorrow as well. The bottom line is that ultimately what drives all of this is the joint mandatory election requirement. We're going to have to hook up with a county, or we're going to have to hook up with a city. There's a multitude of scenarios out there. Mr. Gonzalez is right. Our job as administration and council is to put out all the legal scenarios that you have, and then from that point on it becomes a policy issue and a policy consideration for how you all as a board decide you all want to conduct these next elections, considering all of the issues that are out there. Just a couple of other comments. The Attorney General does not have to approve anything. What we do have to have is a clearance by justice for any changes, and that's a federal review of any of the changes that we would make, and we would need what's called a pre-clearance letter from the Department of Justice on that issue. The plan should be submitted to the Secretary of State, and of course, there being the election officer of the state would give us final okay. But the actual final okay comes from the Department of Justice with a federal review. Of course, as stated in my paper last time, I don't think that there's any federal constitutional issues. I think that they would defer to the fact that we're having to bow to certain legislative authority right now.
Mr. Gonzalez?
I just want to add, and it's very good, I appreciate, Mike, because you did clear it. It is the Department of Justice that has final authority, and I made that error. I'm just saying that if you look at it from the point of view, and I'll be glad to review it with you in any form or fashion, but if you stay with November, position 1 and 2 would have to extend themselves to 4-year terms right now, and start to extend to 2010. That would be a 4-year term, and then they're okay from then on. Positions 3, 4, and 5, they basically their 3-year term would have expired on 5/07. However, we went to November, so their term would have expired in 11/07. And if we took it to the following November, then that would be a 4.5-year term, and then start 4-year terms from there. And then positions 6 and 7, their term expires on 5/08, which is this coming May. If you extended it to November, then they would serve a 3.5-year term, and then 4-year term starting their fourth. This is how I got to the 5, because they have exceeded their 3-year terms that they were elected to, and the next available date would be the following November. That doesn't mean that they couldn't lengthen the term, and if you do, to go to even numbered years, you have to add 2 years to somebody there. Maybe you added 2 years to 6 and 7, then they basically would go to 5.5-year terms for one time, which I don't know. That would be something that the board, like I say, once again, it goes to policy. If you wanted to go all the way to 10 with them, to get 3 and 4. So those are decisions that are hard to make. I fully understand if you wanted to stay with November. And, of course, the one in May is a little bit more complicated because you have to do 3-year terms and 4-year terms and so on and so to get there.
Mr. Lehman?
Yeah, that's my question. If we declare or we, by proclamation, change to 4 years, how can we come back and have 3-year terms?
Called transition plan.
But it's clear that we should serve, well, okay.
During the transition plan, you have the ability to shorten it, not to shorten, but to lengthen terms, and to be able to come up with a transition plan that gets you to where you want to be.
So the transition would be from 2008 to 2017, or?
No, to
2013. And Mr. Powers made it very clear that we can do it in one shot in November, so it's clean. So, it's very complicated, and I think we might confuse, I'm not saying we are, the voters, because, it's a maze.
I think that really, if you go with May, it's really not a maze. It's, that position 1 and 2 would have certain elections in certain time of the years, and you call for those elections and people will be running.
If you would like to have 3 and 4 because it's a political question, I would shorten my term. I would be willing to shorten my term for 2 years, just to be in that way. If the issue of saving money, I'll volunteer to shorten my term 2 years if I decide to run.
Once again, you can only have 3 or 4-year terms.
I don't know, but I'm saying to transitionalize. But
shorten it.
Well, I would voluntarily, and we'll probably ask for a variance. But
you could resign.
No, but I could do that.
Yeah, that's one thing that Mike and I talked about. That if people decided to resign on their own, that would create a different scenario.
Sure.
But that we couldn't ask anybody to do that. They would have to volunteer themselves.
No, but the term stays. That's what I'm saying. We would have to shorten.
Yeah, and I don't think I would ask anybody
the fear is that you would not, politically, you would not like a 2-5. As opposed to a 3-4.
And the reason I wouldn't like a 2-5, and I have to, not for Hector Gonzalez, because Hector Gonzalez will probably not be here until 2013. That I can definitely say I will not be here in 2013. However, other superintendents are coming on board, and 5 years, that's a big change. Especially if you get 5 new board members, man, that's a lot of training.
So let's not all look at Mr. Cortez here.
That's just a lot of training, let me tell you. So you have 5 new board members. You're talking about trying to bring them up to speed fast, or to the role of a board versus the role of administration, and so on and so forth. It becomes an issue with the superintendent and the focus of the district, and what bothers me, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I said I was going to do this, and I told myself, what bothers me is that they're all involved with big political elections, Democrats versus Republicans, and I don't want, as a school administrator, I don't want the focus of education to be in anybody's back burner. I think the focus of education should be the front of everybody concerned, because we have 50,000 kids coming up next year that deserve a lot of attention, because it's their future we're talking about. I don't want us to be a second thought to somebody else. That's the only thing I have. But once again, I revert back that it's a matter of policy. Whatever you want to, I will respect. You have to make the decision, not me.
Mr. Aguilar?
Is there a way we can table this and re-go it in the policy committee August the 1st? And by that time, perhaps at the next board meeting, we have a decision to make?
Mr. Gonzalez?
I think it's July 30th. Policy committee meeting, right? July 30th.
I think he had a conflict.
Workshop.
Was it?
31st, then.
31st, Tuesday.
31st, okay, 31st. I'm sorry. Yeah, he did have a conflict.
Would we be okay then?
Yes, but let me just say one thing, 'cause we're still in it, and you can cover that on 15, because you don't need to discuss 15. If you're going to postpone 14, you got to postpone 15 too.
I'm ready to table, don't worry.
And the thing about it is this: let's try to. Do you need Mr. Saldana? And this is the time to do it. What else do you need from Mr. Saldana to be able to bring it to policy committee in order for you all to make a wise and intelligent decision?
Yeah.
What else do you need? Is there anything that we need to do?
Mr. Saldana?
I know what I need to do, Mr. Gonzalez. And what I need to do is I need to reestablish connections with the Secretary of State. They've made an about face here in the last couple of weeks, and I need to run it by them again. I really do, so that I can feel confidence, that the scenarios that are out there are all legal. It seems like there's an opinion coming out every 2 weeks, and that's changing. And because it seems like the more the scenarios get considered, and resignations and special elections, we haven't even talked about special elections and stuff like that.
Sure.
It just seems to be growing, this monster. Instead of trying to cut it down, it seems to be growing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not the Secretary of State's fault. It's not you all's fault. It's a result of certain groups that decided to pass certain legislation this year to try to basically game the system, in one side or the other. And now we're left with the task of figuring this out. But I really would like an opportunity, hopefully this week, and I'll have a full report to you all again. And I want to reestablish my contacts with the Secretary of State. They've been real hesitant to return my phone calls these last couple of days.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Cortez?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up. We're still programmed for November election this year, correct? I mean, in other words, it's supposed to be on the books for an election this year.
No, sir. We have not called any election for this.
I understand we haven't called election, but
right.
We have a tentatively scheduled election date for this November that we need to. In other words, we need to, by that first board meeting in August, say, no, we're going to move to May, or no, we're going to move to November.
Well, if you don't call the election, you don't call the election.
It's just like that, simple.
In other words, if you want an election this November, you've got to call it.
You got to call it.
Okay? You've got to call the election. It's not programmed, so to speak. You've got to call your election, so many days prior to when you're going to have it.
I guess my question is, if we're going to go to this policy meeting and, I guess, discuss it more there, maybe have more public input on maybe more community involvement in the decision. Are we within our time frame to?
We're certainly within time frame for next May and next November. Okay. We'll be pushing the envelope if you're still looking at a November 2007 election. But I think pretty much the consensus out there is that's pretty much. The Secretary of State's position on this was initially, maybe you can have it. If you couch it in terms of a transition, and that you're ultimately going to try and get into the joint election requirement, then it'll be okay, and we'll give it our blessing. That was their initial position. A lot of pressure came to bear because of the conflict between that position and the Attorney General's position. And ultimately, we found out who was able to apparently win that argument, and the Secretary of State has backed off, basically, November elections, under the plain language reading which says you've got to have a joint election either with the state and county or with your municipality. Since none of that exists this coming November, it would be very difficult to call the election, especially now that the Secretary of State has pulled the rug out from under us.
I mean, we got this backup from TASB Legal. I mean, it's plain black and white. Do you have anything from Secretary of State's office or the Attorney General's office in writing that
I have
we
the
can
Attorney
review other
General's
than
opinion. I
what
do
we're
not have,
being told?
I don't have anything in writing from the Secretary of State. I have the Attorney General's opinion, and I have, of course, TASB, remember, is just TASB, they don't represent any authority at all. Zero authority. They're just a bunch of guys over there that we subscribe.
And that's why I'm asking, does any other...
Not black and
I
white.
think we do have something here, but, it sounds like we're going to postpone this item, so all this discussion is really not very useful if we're going to discuss it. I mean, everyone's raising their hands. Mr. Lehman?
No, I just want to say, just to stop the conversation, it's very obvious that we need to adopt a transition or a resolution. Through resolution, adopt what we're going to do, and that can be done prior to November, and that would clarify everything.
Mr. President?
Mr. Powers?
I mean, to stop and to let the attorney get his information, I move to table 14 and 15 to our next...
Well, I'm not asking for a motion yet, unless you're going to make a motion, unless you're calling a question, that everyone will still need...
If I may.
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez?
You don't need to, Mr. President, you don't need to table, because this consideration, discussion is very impossible action.
Okay,
You just don't make a motion and it dies, and that's it.
That's it.
You can move on anytime you
If there is
want to.
no more discussion on 14, Mr. Colunga, tell us something we haven't heard.
Well, you have, if you don't call an election, then you would have to take action on what Mr. Lehman is talking about, the resolution to change the terms.
So that'll take care of it.
So that was the comment there.
We all agree that needs to take place before November, and all this discussion is dead. And we
As
move
long as
on
we're in
to...
before November, we're...
That's, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, if there's nothing else on 14, we move on to item 15. And I'll go ahead and read it. Consideration, discussion, possible action to post... Well, I don't have to since we didn't do anything on 14, right?
To my recommendation to you, Dr. Escobedo, is to go ahead and just say that the discussion will be at the policy committee meeting.
Okay, yeah, items 14 and 15 will be discussed in greater depth on our policy committee meeting. What was the date again?
July 31st.
July 31st at 5:30?
5:30.
Here. Okay, moving on to...
I don't think you have anything to...
Item 12, closed meetings pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071 at SEC, to discuss personal matters. Board now goes to closed session. The board reconvenes after closed session. I would now like to call for a motion to approve under item 12, closed meetings, item number 34, evaluator 2, item 35, career and technology lead teacher, item 38, AYP compliance coordinator, item 39, internal auditor 1, item 40, 41, and 42.
So move.
I'm sorry, not 42, just 41. Item 42 was only for discussion. So this is, I have a motion by Mrs. Levan and a second by Mr. Powers, do I have, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Under consultation with attorney, regarding pending or threatened litigation matters, do I have a motion? Mr. Colunga?
Mr. President, I move to approve attorney's fees in the amount of $2,500 for settlement of pending special education case styled Jorge F. versus BISD as discussed in the executive session.
Motion by Mr. Colunga, seconded by Mr. Aguilar. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Do I have another motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I move to settle the current workman's compensation claim of Jesus Garza, docket number 453-05-5161.M4 in the amount of $25,000, and authorize the superintendent to sign all appropriate documents and order the funding of the claims as discussed in the executive session.
Motion by Mr. Powers, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Galvan. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes with Mr. all in favor except Mr. Lehman against.
One more.
Any other motions, Mr. Powers?
Mr. President, I move to authorize administration to offer attorney fees in the amount of, as discussed in the executive session, at the upcoming mediation of pending special education case styled Christian L. versus BISD.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Powers, second by Mr. Galvan. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Any other motions? If not, moving on to item 13, announcements. Our next regular board meeting is on Tuesday, August the 7th, here at the Administration Building at 5:30 p.m. Mr. Gonzalez, anything else? Any other announcements?
Just a reminder that we will be having those committee meetings for insurance and policy, and I'll send you an updated calendar on those.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. I have a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion by Mr. Powers, seconded by Mrs. Galvalo. In favor, raise your right hand. This meeting is adjourned.